And then in conjunction with that, the whole like, don't even waste your time making a proposal if you don't have that competitive advantage or if you're going to be disqualified. Um, yeah, that was my thought.
Nice.
Yeah, bouncing off that, that's what I thought too, was like, if they're not willing to be a partner with you from the beginning, like, disqualify them, because we fail over 90% of the time at that deal. And so we know it's not going to turn out well for us in the end. If they're willing to partner with us from the beginning and get, their executives together and have a call like that, then we're positioned much better to have that. And so I think, obviously, as an AE, that's probably, depending on how busy you are and what your pipeline looks like that could be an easier call to make or a harder call to make.
I think you're pointing out too, Derek, the interconnectivity of all the things that you do in a sales cycle. MEDDPICC happens throughout the whole process, and if you don't do certain things, it ends up causing problems later. Proposal is probably one of those areas where things start to really show up, the problems in your deal. Like, okay, who are you presenting your proposal to? So you don't even know who the economic buyer is because that's who you present the proposal to. And so it backs it up as an error in your problem. Or like Derek, the last thing you said, what challenge are they trying to solve? I don't know what challenge they're trying to solve. I can't articulate very well. Okay, let's go back to exploring pain and identifying pain a little bit more. And then even let's include the rollout plan. Well, we haven't actually talked about which partners are going to be involved and what the implementation costs are going to be. Well, you probably need to have that conversation. So I think the MEDDPICC is the methodology that you use to make sure you get set up for the proposal. The proposal is something that really allows you to go through all the different parts of the deal and solidify the deal in your eyes and in the customer's eyes. Because if you really hold yourself to hitting all of the key parts of the proposal, then you're causing yourself to hit all the key parts of the deal. So we'll get into all of that kind of stuff today too. A really great insights. It's pretty obvious to me that y'all have thought deeply about the things that we studied, and that's, like I said, the big takeaway from here. There's a lot of nuances in here about how you would respond. The generic thing is that if you don't have an opportunity to talk with the champion and you don't have an opportunity to talk to the economic buyer, you're never going to close the deal. That comes from MEDDPICC. So why would an RFP be any different? If you don't have no champion, you have no deal. And RFP processes oftentimes don't give you access to the champions. You can't test your champion. You can't even talk to them. And they definitely don't give you access to the economic buyer. They send it out as part of their buying process to get a competitive bid to drop the price down on something they already want to buy. And so oftentimes it doesn't do the salesperson or the company receiving the RFP any good if that's the first time they've heard about the deal. That's the big key there. If often I remember Sabrina saying many times, I'm talking with the marketing department. They're going to have an RFP coming out in 3 weeks. That's a completely different discussion. Sabrina and Workfront are already in there. But if it's the first time you hear about an RFPs, you get an email to info@workfront.com, and then all of a sudden that here's your RFP. You have no deal. It's dead and it's a complete waste of time. So the problem is that RFPs represent a lot of interest, but not a lot of interest with you. And so there's a lot of posturing going on between us and the customer in order to do something. They don't want you to influence their deal. They just spent days, weeks, months, even sometimes preparing with a solution that they want with the vendors that they want, and they're just going through a checkbox. So unless you can rattle their worlds and show them a different vision, you're likely not going to get the deal. There's an unless there too. Unless you're already a category, and unless you already have a big brand for your company that you work for, then it doesn't matter. And you can respond to any RFP you want, basically, because they already built their RFP based on your brand. And you have that brand recognition. So kind of have that in the back of your mind when you go and decide if you're going to do an RFP or not. Like, what company do you work for? How big is their brand? Do you have an established category? And then then also, will you have access to position your vision and that kind of stuff well? So general rule is I get an RFP. First thing I do is I pick up my phone and I call the person who sent the RFP. And if they don't let me talk to the economic buyer, I'm not filling out the RFP. That's like the classic thing that you want to do and negotiate and talk with. And then it becomes, like Zach was saying, that mental game of like, or no, it was Colton, I think. do you really not respond to the RFP? Like it does represent money, and if you have nothing in your pipeline, it can be really hard to walk away from that.